Welcome to Women Don't Do That, where we empower you with inspiration, knowledge, and skills to redefine your boundaries and unleash your potential. I'm Stephanie Minton, founder and CEO of Beacon North Strategies and your guide. Small town girl turned CEO while navigating career, motherhood, ADHD, and chronic migraines. Our conversations range from interviews with visionary women to solo episodes filled with actionable insights. We are your hub for turning what ifs into let's go. Are you ready to redefine your possible? Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Kyla Thomson, the mother of Bella Brave, a young girl whose resilience and joy inspired millions despite facing rare health challenges. After Bella's passing in 2024 at 10 years old, Kyla has continued to share her legacy while navigating grief, motherhood, and advocacy. In this episode, we discuss Bella's journey, finding strength in hardship, and what it means to keep going when things and life feel impossible. Whether you're facing challenges yourself, seeking inspiration, or learning to embrace bravery in your own life, this conversation is one you don't want to miss. Welcome, Kyla.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to chat.
I'm happy to have you here too. I first found you and your daughter during COVID, and just Bella, I feel like taught a lot to our family about the experience of children in the medical system in Canada, and just about her life and so many life lessons from such a wise little girl during a challenging time for the world.
Yeah, COVID 2020 was a very unique year for us. It was not only the year that she was listed for a bowel transplant that she later did receive, but it was like second COVID for us. So the world really got to see a young kid. Bella was only 6, completely fearless. Also, going through this medical life of rare disease, but in 2015, when she had her bone marrow transplant for SCID, like we had been 200 plus days on isolation. We were like, isolation was old hat to us. And here she is, this kid, and we're just learning how to use TikTok. And the world's like, whoa, she's like amazing. And then wait a minute, holy, she has a real big medical story.
Yes. Yeah, she had
Yeah.
a story. She was super sweet, but also very entertaining and also a bit sassy in the best way. And it made for some very good and very sweet content for a time that we needed that kind of thing.
Yeah. Her her confidence
Yes.
was so big when everyone expected it to be so small.
Yes.
It was opposite of what they all expected. And I like, for a lot of her life, before even like TikTok and socials, and like the fact that she knew what sharing could do for other kids like her, and the recognition she got from it, like I really needed to hone in on helping her like fit her head through the door, because she was just like, yes, I am the queen.
Yeah.
And then her sassy would come out, but all in good fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with life with you right now, and then we'll get more into your story. So I like to kick things off by listeners getting to know you better. So what does life look like for you right now?
Yeah. So right now I am going into month 8 of being a bereaved mom, as Bella
Mm.
passed away last July. I have a 6-year-old son who is probably the biggest empath you'll ever meet in your life, if you ever get to meet him. He's my little sweetheart. And my husband is my amazing rock through all of this. We've been married since 2009, and we run a tree farm together in Swift Current, Saskatchewan.
I love that. That's like a Hallmark
Yeah,
movie.
it kind of is. But we don't sell Christmas trees. We sell,
Okay.
we're in Saskatchewan, so we sell like shelter belt trees and like farmyard trees. And, but yeah, so right now, I mean, we're on, my husband's like, we're on leave. He's on leave from his government job, and we're mourning our daughter and the roller coaster of a ride that grief takes you on from here on out.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where we're at. I used to be a teacher. I could still go back to teaching, but I've just found that my work through advocacy and charities and organizations like the Ron McDonald House and Make a Wish have really given me so much more drive and purpose in my life
Mm.
for my daughter and her legacy. And the biggest part of which we've recently, my husband and I started a podcast together, Beyond Brave. So we're doing a lot of those episodes
Right.
right for our podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how when people go through those kinds of experiences, you find the different channels that work best for you. I was telling you before this interview about the story of Miranda, who co-founded the podcast, and there's a few episodes on the podcast about her story. But she was a journalism graduate, and so she wrote a blog, a very like vulnerable, open blog where she would update things, and I can see how the podcast is that outlet for you.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before. I'm really learning how to like speak about it more so now because it's all just kind of been this feeling inside.
Mhm.
But in honesty, it's like I used to blog. That was my first start with socials besides Facebook, but our medical story, like Bella was born in 2013. I had Facebook, but I found writing so therapeutic and no other platform gave me the space to write as much as I wanted to.
Right,
And, as I learned how to use Instagram and then learned how to TikTok and YouTube, it's been all these short form or video focused.
right.
And so with podcasting, now I kind of get that written feel, that
Yeah,
long sort of
like more
format.
deeper ideas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other thing I like about podcasting is just the authentic conversations too. If you and I were sitting down and, talking for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or even half an hour, you don't get the in-depth conversation, especially when two people like you and I, we just met right before this interview, right? And so
Yeah.
to be able to have a deeper conversation, I find you need a longer period of time, and especially for the types of topics that you're talking about, having that longer time to have that conversation can be really meaningful and create a really interesting, engaging, and important piece of content.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's so much. I've always been vulnerable on my socials.
Mm,
It's
yes.
been this ache and this need to connect with other families like ours. And to do that, you got to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
And then to do that, you need to have a tough skin because social media is not always nice.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what motivates you to live your best life?
Yeah, I wrote this down because I got your questions ahead of time and I'm like, I gotta write this down because I don't want to forget.
Yes, I always
Um,
give the front end ones and the closing ones because they're a little bit more thought provoking. They're harder
yeah,
on the spot.
yeah. I wrote down and I've come to this feeling. I've said it through a lot of like my public speaking and through the meaning in a lot of my posts. But really, the way my daughter has taught this world to be brave
Hmm.
and find joy when she lived a life that gave her every reason not to.
Yeah.
That motivates me to just
Mm.
remember people's perspective, remember other people's pain, how it is worse for others in a lot of cases,
Mhm.
and to just put that perspective in check. Before I do what I'm going to do in this world, kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to kind of pull that together. She when I think about her from social media, I remember her dancing around in princess costumes, wearing princess crowns.
oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, lot of fun. So, can you tell me more about her as a person?
yeah. From so really it starts from day one in the NICU. Like she was born in our hometown and in our hometown hospital. She didn't get outside of hospital until she was 2. We were in hospital consistently until she was just 2 years old. And so this is really her. This is from birth. This is her personality. This is her drive. This is her God-given spirit. But she would be, she was born 6 pounds 11 ounces, biggest baby in the NICU, and we're trying to figure out, okay, why, like she had Hirschsprungs, and we're trying to figure out why the surgeries weren't helping. And she is that baby in the NICU that's like wide-eyed, looking around, talking, like making sounds, yet she's also being poked and prodded in medical procedures and surgery
Mm.
after surgery. But at the same time, she has this big smile. She grows up. I remember the SLP coming into her room and being like, she's got 96 percentile and receptive and expressive
Mm.
vocabulary. Like she's saying words at 10 months old. She had this start to life that you would expect her to be so shut down,
Mm.
so like pushing away from the world. But she was the complete opposite. I
Mm.
remember when she was walking and she was maybe like 4. We'd be walking down hospital halls that she knows so well, and she would be saying hello to everyone that walked by her. She didn't care if she didn't know you. She was like, "Hi, how are you?" She was the kid that gave strangers a hug. Um, Meanwhile, I'm the medical mom who's like, "Okay, you're immune compromised. Can we just keep a distance?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was like, "No, mom, I'm sorry, but this stranger over here, I like her dress, so I'm gonna give her a hug and I'm gonna let her know that."
Right.
And so she's very, very social. And at home, the size of her dress up boxes, like I like they would fill this room. Like
Right.
she was the kid that would drag out the dress up box like 3 times her size and put anything and everything on, go through every outfit she had. Um, she loved life, and she lived so much life
Hmm.
because she was just so used to hospital.
Right.
She took advantage of those times when we got to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never thought about it from that perspective before. That's really
Mm-hmm.
thought-provoking. You guys had this saying and now merch with Bella Brave. Can you talk
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. Our Bella Brave merch. My
And just the concept of Bella Brave too.
Yeah, my husband, we all worked on that together. So my husband really thought of Bella Brave, and Bella thought of the design and the
Mm.
colors and what it really meant. Like she knew she was Bella Brave. And we started the hashtag, and we started the merch because, well, we were thinking about it. It's really a unique story about how we actually started the merch.
Tell me.
We had someone else start it for us. It was on our minds, and we were like, this would be a great way to support ourselves because we're
Hmm.
in and out of hospital constantly. I had to give up my teaching career, and this is also a way to get Bella's message out there, to not only support our daughter, but to support everyone else that is going through something really hard and needs to be brave. And so we had this discussion as a family. And so the 3 of us created it together. And we were in hospital, and I had a friend call me. We hadn't done anything yet. We just had these ideas out. I had a friend call me from a lovely lady who had a printing business in the States, and just completely out of the blue. I had no idea. And she was like, I have the ability to start something for you. I want to help you start this merch business with my clothing printer and this and that. Start thinking of designs. We want to really do this as a way to support your family.
Oh,
And my husband and I were blown away. We're like, we were just thinking of this. We were
yeah.
just trying to get the ball. Like, what? And so she was an amazing support. She got the ball rolling for us to be able to get the merch produced and mailed to people that wanted it. And then, of course, Bella took care of all the excitement with the designs and how the shirts looked and where the logo goes and how big it is and what she draws. And that's really like she grew her love of design and fashion.
Oh.
She wanted to be a fashion designer. Um, Even though she was like had model spirit, like model energy, she's like, no, mom, I want to sew the clothes, design the clothes. I was like, okay. And so then that's really how it kicked off. And it was really a valuable support for us, but also it gave such a good message, and
Hmm.
a message that we wanted to share as Bella fought rare disease. And from there, we learned how to work with companies that give us full creative control
Mm-hmm.
and our ability to kind of like take that on as ourselves, solely
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and make that a go. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Can you talk more about her medical journey? I think it's probably hard for people to comprehend like how much she's been through and the amount of surgeries, but just so people get a sense of, what that experience was like for you guys.
Yeah, my it's definitely hard to summarize 10 plus years of extremely rare medical scenarios and discoveries. I actually, I was really proud of myself because I'm learning as I go, as I continue to talk and share our story. I'm learning to summarize a lot better. But I'm really proud of myself because I made a post about rare disease, because it's Rare Disease Day today, February
Ah, I
28th.
didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah. And
Thank you.
so I made a post about that, and if I could summarize Bella's medical journey, she fought rare disease and won, and she didn't lose because she's not here anymore on earth, but she won because the I've had numerous specialists worldwide tell me the knowledge they have gained from meeting Bella and being her care provider, like her medical care provider, the knowledge that they have gotten from her story and her medical needs in 4 different hospitals in Canada
Hmm.
is knowledge that they would have never been able to acquire without Bella.
Oh,
Yeah. And so they help other kids now. So she alone help other kids have to not suffer or at all.
hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And she had a number of different
Yeah.
diseases. Is that
Yeah. She was born with, so unknowingly, she was born with the first one we realized at 3 days old, it was Hirschsprung's, and then later we realized it was actually long segment Hirschsprung's. And that turned into bowel failure for her by the time she was 6. And so that's why she was listed for a bowel transplant through Sick Kids. And so Hirschsprung's, so she had the rarest form of every rare condition she was born with. So her Hirschsprung's was long segment Hirschsprung's. And I mean, I've had probably 3 to 4 doctors tell me her conditions are something they've never seen before. And the way that they have been combined in her tiny little body is something that they had said that we probably will never see again in our career.
wow?
And this is all due to what her geneticist has told me is a spontaneous gene mutation.
Mm.
And so spontaneously, my husband and I, we've been tested here, there, and everywhere. We always kind of laugh, but we're not related, because that's the only way they could comprehend why.
And don't you live in rural Saskatchewan too? Like, don't joke like that.
No, but they had to test that. So spontaneously, we have these genes that combined result in this rare gene mutation, and for Bella, that meant an extremely rare form of Hirschsprung's, an extremely rare form of SCID, an extremely rare form of dwarfism, all in
Mhm.
one on her tiny, mighty little body.
Mm.
Um, the the Hirschsprung, so a lot of her surgeries, her
Mhm.
major surgeries, were to do with her bowels. She had
Right. What is
six
that
yeah,
one and the second one you said? Like, what are
yeah,
those?
yeah. So Hirschsprung's is basically dead bowel. So you got your
Okay.
colon and you got your small intestine, and it typically only affects the very end of your colon.
Okay.
And usually, typically, like Hirschsprung's is pretty well known. You surgically take out that section that's affected, that dead piece that's causing a blockage. You take that out, you can reconnect, things are good. Sometimes kids have, or people have ostomies for a while. Sometimes ostomies can go away. For Bella, it was a lot of surgeries, and the surgeons didn't have the equipment in our hospital to, I think it was to like flash freeze and test during surgery. So a lot of the first couple of her surgeries, they took out a chunk of colon blindly, hoping that they got enough for this dead bowel, but in
Right.
Bella's case they didn't. So they'd hook her back up.
Oh,
Things were not better. They were the same. They'd go
right.
back in a couple months later, do the same thing, snip away at the scar tissue that was also choking her bowel, look for more dead bowel, sew her back up. That happened to Bella 6 times
Oh my
before
goodness.
she had to be listed for a full transplant. The Hirschsprung's also, that's typically at the end of the colon, it affected her entire colon
Right.
and then skipped up into her small bowel, which a lot of the specialists, when they were looking for information on this, were like, are you kidding? No, Hirschsprung's doesn't go in the small bowel. Like, what are you guys talking about? We don't even believe this is happening.
Wow.
Whereas some of her specialists were like, this is a first case scenario.
Yeah. This is
Um,
what this is happening, guys.
this is happening. We are seeing this with our eyes. And her SCID diagnosis, so severe combined immune deficiency, that
Okay.
means she was born with no immune system.
Oh, wow.
And so she typically, kids with SCID, they don't survive the common cold.
Right.
Yet before her diagnosis, she survived 4 bowel surgeries. So
Yeah.
that's like, and of course she went septic. Like,
Right.
I've had her doctors tell me that they do not comprehend how she was alive
Yeah.
post surgery, post exposing her blood system to feces from bowel surgery,
Right.
post septic shock. They were like, we can't explain this. Like the common cold, like when she was diagnosed with SCID, we then realized why she was never able to get off of antibiotics.
Right.
Um, but it was just, they were at the same time and they were like, how is she alive? How
Right.
is she alive? So she had no T cells and no B cells, and that means she absolutely had no ability to fight viruses or bacteria.
Right. Wow. And
Yeah,
so for her and for you guys as parents, one of the challenges is you had to be in all kinds of different hospitals and all
yeah,
kinds of, can you talk about that, like
yeah.
managing that reality as a medical parent? Like what's that look like?
It's bittersweet because in Canada, it's free, right? We
Right.
have access to all this needed medical care and medical research, and we have the support systems in place to help cover our travel, flying to Toronto, driving to Alberta, or driving to northern Saskatchewan to our children's hospital. But at the same time, there's a lot of red tape and restrictions when you're going province to province. And in our case, it was really difficult because I had to, in short, I had to learn how to give my child IV hydration. I had to learn how to draw her blood and give her IV. So I had to learn how to be a nurse at home without going to university to be an
Right.
RN.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm trained in these hospitals outside of my province, bringing their care routine home with me now that I'm trained. But my own local doctor can't, like, I can't go to her for help, but the nurse in Alberta can't help because I'm not an Alberta resident. There was so
Oh,
with rare
yeah.
disease, that was really hard. So our scenario with Bella really helped enlighten, like, hey, we need to fix our system in this
Yeah,
way
big
because,
problems with the system. Yeah.
yeah, because she was grandfathered into her primary care team in our neighboring province, Alberta, because our home province hospital didn't have an immune specialist, didn't have a GI specialist.
Wow.
So she was 8 years long in Alberta. We're going back and forth to Calgary. And then, she's 6, and now we need to fly back and forth to Toronto. And now she has a second primary care team. Her immune issue primary care team and bowel were in Alberta. Now we have both in Toronto. Now we got 4.
Yeah.
So it's like
And
that.
you're
And
living in the facilities at the hospital too, right? Like the Ronald McDonald houses and those kind
yes,
of, yeah.
yeah. So um, being able to communicate with all those care teams is crucial because otherwise we would be living in hospital her entire life, and I didn't
Right.
want that for her. And as long as it was safe, the training they could give me to get her home did
Yeah.
that, and it was safe
Right.
and it gave her a life outside of hospital.
Right. And that also meant because of that, like long stretches of time for you guys away from each other as a family, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my husband and I had to he had to hold down the fort. You know, the first year we're driving to, oh my God, my little hair is giving a little poof. Sorry guys, you have to deal with that. It's okay.
Okay.
I got an alfalfa sprout going on.
Now it's just standing straight up. Okay.
So the first year of her life, you know, my husband's got to drive back and forth to Saskatoon, and winter in Canada is not easy for that.
Yeah.
And then in Calgary, we got to Calgary, and you know, our teams in Saskatchewan were like, we can't do anything here. We don't have the resources. You got to go to Calgary. And then it was just, you know, for my husband to keep the job and keep our house going.
Yeah.
And then when Bella was 5 and I had my son Waylon, things were good. We were like, okay, like we wanted to grow our family. And it was like, if we don't try now, we're never going to try out of fear. Right.
Right. Right.
And so thank God we had Waylon when we did. Bella was really good, and I was able to be home with him a lot more as a newborn, because there was always that fear, like, and it was pre like her, you know, being listed for a bowel transplant. It was before that.
Right.
And she's still surviving off of IV fluids and IV nutrition, but things were better. We had new medication that were getting her off of that more and more. But yeah, he was born, we had a good couple years, and then it was like, okay, we got to rely on grandma and grandpa now, because
Right.
Bella and I are flying to Toronto.
Yeah.
Now we have like a son, and
I was going to
yeah.
ask you about that. Like, what through those challenging times, what were some of the things that helped you guys? Because you have another child, you have your relationship with your husband, and I'm hearing you say family. What are some of the other things, if there's other parents listening in the same situation, that helped you?
Yeah, I mean, thank God for the friends that I have in this
Mhm.
community, because my mom and my dad are both, I have older parents, and so they had their own medical issues that prevented them from being able to care for not only Bella but my son Waylon.
Mhm.
And so then we really, and my husband's parents don't live in our city, so we really needed our friends
Mhm.
to step to the plate, and they sure did far beyond that. um and then also, I mean, thank God for technology, right? The
Yes.
amount we could
Yeah,
FaceTime.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Technology now,
Yeah.
like just compared to like what in our parents' generation, what they could have
Yeah.
done, it would have been so
Yeah.
different.
And then also the organizations that we have, like the Ronald McDonald House in Saskatchewan, we have Kinsman Telemiracle, which and also, like when Bella got listed for a bowel transplant, we have the David Foster Foundation. All of these ways that, and organizations that support our travel and our accommodations, they would
Mhm.
support Lyle's ability and Waylon's ability to get to Bella and I
Okay.
while we were in hospital. So
Right.
yeah.
Bella and her story captured millions. Like your TikTok alone is 7.5 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And including people like Ryan Reynolds and Halsey,
Yeah.
when you're going through such a difficult time, having people like that support you or spend time and support your daughter, what does that mean?
I am so like, the the whole reason I started sharing on socials and like teaching Bella what this could do for her was because we had such a rare story.
Yeah.
We not only saw it as a way to connect with other families that gave us support, we could give them support, but to have that kind of reach, I
Mhm.
knew, I was like, we can grab a hold of this and share the support world. We just had so much more reach with these famous people,
Mhm.
and that in turn meant more supports for my daughter and kids like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like with Ryan Reynolds, he is a big partner in supporting Sick Kids Hospital.
Yeah.
Without Sick Kids Hospital, Bella would not be alive. She
Right.
wouldn't have had a successful bowel transplant. um and without the David Foster Foundation,
Yep.
she, oh my goodness, like they not only support every kid in Canada going through transplant, but they, like David Foster, like he would call me, and we met him and Kat twice,
Oh.
And he had said, like, he's the face of she is the face of the David Foster Foundation, and they gave us opportunities to share, to keep the conversation going for
Mhm.
organ donation and tissue transplant.
Yeah.
And that is saving so many more
Yeah.
lives, in knowing that that reach is getting so many more people. And then, of course, Halsey having her own medical journey. It's just this, with them, the amount of support is just
Yeah.
much
It's
bigger.
you're making me think about how, I didn't even know. I'm trying to think if I saw those TikTok videos about David Foster, if I missed them, but I don't think I even knew that he did that. And we look at these famous people, right? And especially right now, these days, they get a pretty bad rap for a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many of them do really important work, and lots of it isn't
Yeah.
splashed all over the front page. And
Yeah.
just the amount of money, the attention that it can bring to those issues,
Yeah.
and just remembering that they're people and hearing,
Yeah.
what they did for you in particular. I also want to highlight that Ryan was on your podcast, so if people
Yeah.
want to go listen to that episode,
Yeah.
and also even just hearing Ryan talk about his experience of meeting Bella is very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of funny because, I mean, I've known Ryan. We got to meet far before any issues with his struggles right now with his wife Blake. And knowing that a couple weeks before, like, I invited him, not knowing he would reply so quickly.
Aw.
And then, of course, like, we have this connection through Sick Kids, and I'm like, you know what, like, if this world can understand for a minute that so much of what he is going through with his wife is so personal, and it's just so far apart from the amazing work he does for Sick Kids, and
Mm,
his effort in this, supporting this hospital, had saved my daughter's life. And bottom
mhm.
line, that's what matters. His,
Yeah.
his court and what he said, she said, with the issues right now, like, really, that's not what matters in life right now. What matters, like, is his support for the Sick Kids Hospital. And I'm really happy we could focus on that. And I of course you don't want personal issues to taint your
Right.
purpose.
Right.
Um, but I was like, no, I was like, we don't need to focus on that. We need to focus on what really matters. And so I was
Yeah.
so happy he was so willing and kind
Mhm.
about being a guest on my podcast. And it was, I when people listen to that episode, like, they'll see he is like got like a therapist like
Mm.
background of some sort, because the way he talked to Lyle and I, and the way he asked us some real thoughtful questions, like, it was really, really awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you think about now, we've talked a little bit about Bella's life and her medical experience. And as you mentioned, she has passed now.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about navigating this challenging time, how are you balancing and working through, like, you're working through grieving, and at the same time you have other responsibilities in your life? What
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
what does life look like now that way?
I it's I'm really thankful for my mom bringing me up in faith, and just having that,
Mm,
that firm foundation to support me when the days come where it's like, I don't want to get up today. I don't want to be around anybody today.
yeah.
I also have my son, who was like, of course, like, my kids, like, they're everything you live for. But he reminds me every day, like, he lost her too.
Mm,
And I want to support him so that he can see the light and the love in this world like Bella did, and not just see the
mm,
loss and the pain and the grief.
right.
And another part of it is, sorry to get all like
Oh,
sappy,
that's
guys.
okay. That's okay.
Um,
I've been crying multiple times. I knew it would happen.
yeah, but um, sorry. Not only that, when Bella passed away, and we have this reach, and there's healing in the ability to keep talking, keep advocating, because I really felt that this world is grieving her too.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And my socials being a big part of that, right? Like I know there is millions of people out there grieving her too. And I don't want to just leave them in the dark. I
Right.
don't stop advocacy because I'm in pain. Yeah, I'm
Right.
in pain. I'm going to be in pain. That's the way my life is going to be. But I can still share her legacy and advocate for the kids that need it.
Right.
And that brings me healing.
Right.
Yeah.
When that's very interesting, yeah, that it because I kind of wanted to ask you, like, as I've been hearing you talk, you can tell how much you obviously love your daughter, love your family, love everybody around you. And you talk a lot about everybody else, but how is Kyla?
Yeah.
Right. And even when I
Yeah.
ask you questions about that, you transition it through everybody else. So
Yeah.
I hope that you're also taking care of you.
Yeah. I am very, very blessed to have amazing community of family and friends that take care of me so
Mm,
that I have the energy and the ability to continue sharing Bella's story and not feeling overwhelmed with the grief and
mm,
losing her, but instead carrying on her light and her
mhm.
legacy like she would want. She,
Right.
and I think without the support of my family and friends around me and my online community, I
Right.
cannot ever like forget them. It it really helps pick me up every day.
Right. I can see that too because it helps you channel your energy. It's like, yes, you're doing a lot for other people or thinking externally, but that's helping you work through your own grief too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it really does. That's like I kind of look at it two ways. I'm like I have every right to just shut down and shut off
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, but who's that helping?
Right.
Then I find more grief in that. I'm losing
Right.
my reach to help another kid, right? And then I look at it the other way, and it's like I have all these messages and these DMs and people telling me like you helped me in this way.
Right.
Your daughter's story saved my life, saved my kid's life. It gave
Mm.
me hope, it gave me inspiration. So
Yeah.
if I just shut down because I'm in pain and I'm grieving and I'm sad, I'm losing that chance to help heal myself too.
Right. Right. When you you have had such a unique experience with millions of people living on your daughter, finding her stories, and yet you've kind of, because of that, had to grieve in public, and
Mm-hmm.
then also having all these strangers in some ways grieve with you too. So what has that been like?
Yeah, um
It's such a unique,
it's what I think about when you put it that way, it's like God, what are the mom how alone do other moms feel and other
mm,
dads and caregivers feel when they don't have these platforms with this
yeah,
reach? I
right? Because you
constantly
know that so many people love your daughter.
and I get that love and I get that
Yeah.
copious amount of
And people who knew, like,
yeah,
knew her, watched her videos,
yeah,
could say
yeah,
things about her personality
yeah,
that, you know, otherwise that circle is a lot smaller in most people's day-to-day
yeah,
lives, right?
and lonely and hard. And so it's like, okay, no, I can use this reach and this platform to comfort them, to support them, and
Mhm.
continue to say, hey, I get it. I hope that helps you. So they feel less alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Is there anything else about the podcast that you wanted to share? I wanted to make sure if there's more that you wanted to talk maybe about what you're doing on there, and
Yeah.
we'll make sure to include in the show notes and stuff how people can find it and everything.
Yeah, for sure. My husband and I, we have got so much feedback on people loving our banter. And
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we've never shared it before. I mean, the first like couple years of TikTok, people would be like, "Does Bella have a dad?"
Yeah.
Like, it's just like wow, it's like non-existent. And now it's time to shine, and the platform of podcasting is like the perfect way to do it. And um, we're just really, we wanted to build it to carry on Bella's legacy,
Mm-hmm.
and as a way of like carrying that on for her, helping other medical parents, sharing her story um, in ways that our other platforms just never allowed.
Right.
And I'm really excited to work on inviting more guests that were really personal to our story, like Bella's transplant doctors and
Right.
her GI doctors and her nurses, and more people like Ryan who have been involved in her life that have, this like um celebrity status, and just use it as a way to carry on her legacy and her story.
Right.
And yeah, we're really excited to, it's really, as we go on, like we know that what we are going to share is going to be stories and information and insight that nobody's ever seen or heard on any of our other platforms before.
Right. The fall courses of the Beacon North Mentorship Academy are here. Join us to boost your advocacy, communication, and media skills. Whether you're new to lobbying or a seasoned advocate, we've got something for everyone. Check out the schedule and secure your spot today. Link in bio for details. Okay, it's interesting because as you're talking, I can see like when you mentioned the doctors and stuff, like all the different avenues that you could uncover and some of the
Yeah.
conversations that you could have.
Yeah.
And also how that work can relate to some of the advocacy that I know you're interested in. So the
Yeah.
Bella Brave Legacy Project,
Yeah.
is that the advocacy piece, or what is that and how does it fit with everything else?
Yeah, that's me continuing advocacy. I know that was a big part. When I started socials and when Bella became more keen to being a part of like the editing and producing and like making of our videos and
Oh, I
our
love
posts,
that.
I really was like, okay, I know I know the dark side of social media.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
not only is she a child, but people are going to take this and they're going to twist it in a way that's like, oh, um this mom is uh exploiting her child versus
right.
advocacy. And I want to continue giving hope to the medical parents and the medical families that don't have the energy, they don't have the time, but
Yeah,
they still need a voice. They need someone who gets it. And
right.
I always taught Bella, I was like, we're advocating. And I always would share, like, there's a difference between exploiting and advocating,
Mm.
and and
And
um
educating.
and educating. And I don't want people to get that twisted, right? Like there's a
Mm.
difference when you're advocating, you're sharing and you're posting because you care about other people, not just yourself or your child. Exploiting isn't.
Yeah.
Exploiting is you're doing it for the benefit of yourself. So to continue advocacy so I can help other people's has always been what helps me heal. It's always been what brought Bella joy.
Mm.
And we've had the darkest days, right? And
Hmm.
she told me her bravery is because she could find joy in the darkest days. And
Mm.
a lot of our platforms did that for her. And I want to continue that on in her name
Hmm.
and continue her legacy so that, like, I've had so many moms and dads tell me, like, my daughter and my son love watching Bella's TikToks. They make her smile or they make him smile. And they just seeing her as another kid who's in the same hospital as them or had been
Right.
to the same, gone through the same surgery as them,
Yeah.
to give them hope and bravery. I want to continue that for those
Right.
kiddos. Yeah.
When you look at, you talked earlier about when you think about the advocacy and some of the issues, one is how the medical system is set up to support families like yours cross province. What are
Yeah.
some of the other issues?
With advocacy, you mean? Or
Hmm.
I think it's maybe not much of an issue, but people need to be aware that it's a fine balance. And as a creator, I want people to understand how I think about this,
Mm.
because there is, I forget the exact term, I think it's like toxic positivity.
Yeah.
But then there's also, you know, it's a balance between being completely and utterly vulnerable online but you also don't want to just share devastation and fear.
Right.
Right. And on the other hand, you don't want to be that toxic positive person that's like, everything's butterflies and rainbows because we made it
Yeah.
through another surgery and yay us. Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's a balance, right? Because I'm constantly thinking like this when I share words or videos or pictures online, because I'm constantly thinking about the other kid that's watching this or the other parent that's reading this,
Mm.
and I don't want to cause them fear,
Right.
but I also
Yeah,
don't want
thinking
to
about
cause,
the audience.
yeah, I also don't want to cause them depression, right? Like, oh, like, so we need those reminders that social media is a very, very small part of someone's day and a
Yes.
very small part of someone's life. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna I'm not gonna set up the camera or write about the deep depression and dark days and me crying and all the dark thoughts I'm having,
Yeah.
because someone else could read that, another mom could read that and just feel absolutely devastated and drained, and I don't want to do that to someone else.
Yeah. It's that hard balance because
Yeah.
it's good for people to see in the dark days that that's normal and that happens.
Yeah.
And yet, yeah, to kind of get that balance between both sides. And also between that is you as a living, breathing human being that's a real person that's living through this, right?
Yeah.
And walking through that as well.
it's a it's a
Um,
it's a big job, especially too now that I found myself being able to collaborate and work with
mhm.
partners like organizations like the Ronald McDonald House and Make-A-Wish and Sick Kids Hospital, um and like Sask Abilities. There's been so much that as a collaborator you need to be professional. You also need to respect your own mental health.
Yeah,
You need to respect how you share for an organization, but at the same time you can't sugarcoat your real life trauma.
right.
So it's really a balance I'm learning, and I want to keep going because I know there's not a lot of other creators out there. I know a lot of medical moms with platforms and we lean on each other.
Hmm.
um but it's really hard for the average follower or viewer to understand that perspective,
Yeah.
from like a 5-minute post or a 2-minute read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good reminder about the stories behind the cameras and the real lives
Yeah.
and even just taking care of yourself through that process. Well, Bella was the definition of bravery, Kyla, and I would say obviously you are too. There's a lot of obviously our listenership is mostly women,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they're afraid to take the next step in their life or their career or their personal journey. What advice would you have to them about being brave?
Oh, I mean, taking it taking it from, my daughter herself, I would say start with finding the joy.
Hmm.
If it doesn't bring you joy, if it doesn't serve you, consider a different path, because that
Hmm.
really matters. That really matters. You can do a lot in your life for other people, but if it's not bringing you joy, it's, consider something else. Just focus on that first, and the rest will fall into place. I know Bella always told me that finding joy is what helped her be brave. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way to close things off. And I love that in your podcast intro, you can hear Bella's slow voice.
Yes. Yeah, we were so happy to, that was actually my friend and producer Danny's idea to bring those in, and we chose that clip because she says in there, she says it was during one of her makeup tutorials. Is really sweet. um she was talking about, I think, her makeup or her hair, and she's like, it doesn't, what did she say, she was like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want it to be perfect, it it can be perfect. Like, it's just like, it's like, if you want it that way, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you do you.
it can be just right if you want it that way, right? So
Oh,
I really, really love that. And at the end of each of our podcasts, we share a new Bella voice clip of different parts of our life. So there's a different one at the end every time we share
okay.
an
Oh,
episode.
that's
Yeah.
good. Very
Yeah.
sweet. All right. Well, let's close things off. Can you share a rule you've broken that turned out to be a great decision?
Oh, okay, wait. Did we talk about that already? I might have used my answer for that already. Um,
That's
okay.
okay.
That's okay. I wrote it down. So a rule, I would say advocating loudly and sharing vulnerably. Vulnerably. Advocating loudly and sharing vulnerably, I believe is a rule that I broke because there's a lot of shushers out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like, oh, you're a woman, you're a mom, shh, don't do that. Oh, you have a child, you have a little girl, shh, don't do that. And it's like, no, I'm gonna advocate loudly. I'm not gonna shush, and I'm gonna share vulnerably because people are gonna know it's real. They're gonna understand it better that way.
Yes. Yeah. Who's a woman who continually inspires you?
Yeah. Okay. So I couldn't just pick one because I would say off the bat, it would be every one of my medical mom friends. They get it. They've been there. And they continue to show me that, they continue to show me the support that they offer is a force to be reckoned with. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. What's one book that significantly impacted your wisdom or perspective?
I wrote this down. I know it might sound cliche, or I don't know if you've maybe ever had someone mention this book, but I'm going to say the Bible 100%.
I have actually. You're not the first.
Okay.
You might be the second though.
Yeah. Okay. Cause it's honestly, like it's where I find my strength and support. It's where, it's how my mom raised me to find faith and hope in situations that, I can't lean on my own understanding. So it's got to come from there.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that and just sharing your life story. And one, it brings joy to hear about Bella, and I hope that people check out TikToks and they can watch some of her joy there. But also just the wisdom for other women and just advice about being brave and keeping moving forward. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, that means a lot. I'm so thankful for your questions and the conversation. I'm really excited for people to listen to this episode. I really love how you're able to bring out such meaningful conversation with me today. It really means a lot. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Women Don't Do That. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating or review. Connect with us on Instagram at Women Don't Do That and visit our website www.womendon'tdothat.com for more details. Join our Patreon to support our work. Find all of the links in the show notes. Remember, you have the power to transform your what ifs into let's go. Together, let's redefine your possible. Until next time. The opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Women Don't Do That, Stephanie Mitton, or affiliated brands.